Welcome to Computer Electronics 206, Computer Servicing and Repair. I'm Tim Vaughn. I'd like to take a look with you at Chapter 1, an introduction to a typical PC. Chapter 1 is found in our textbook, Computer Service and Repair by Richard M. Roberts. This textbook serves as the guide for our class. Our class is based on this textbook, and this textbook, in turn, is based on the CompTIA A+ certification exam. What is CompTIA? Well, CompTIA is a vendor-neutral organization. CompTIA stands for Computer Trade Industry Association, and vendor-neutral means it's not owned by any one company or organization. It is a non-for-profit organization, so it doesn't owe itself to any particular product or service. But what it does do is it provides certification in various areas of the information technology industry. And our course is based on, our class is based on the CompTIA A+ certification, which is having to do with computer servicing and repair, maintenance, and upgrading of computer hardware and software. And you get an A+ certification by taking 2 exams. The current A+ is called the 2006 version, and I'm sure they're going to come out with a new one in a couple years, and they update it periodically. But when you take this exam, there's 2 parts. The first part is called the A+ Essentials, which are the basic information and knowledge you need to know to repair and service computer hardware and software. The second part has 3 different variations or flavors, if you will. The first one is called the IT technician. Those are people who repair and maintain computers and software inside of an organization or business. For example, at MJC we have IT technicians that take care of the computers in the computer labs and in people's offices. A remote support technician is a person who takes care of a computer remotely over the telephone or through the internet. And a depot technician is someone who takes care of computers and repairs them at a computer repair facility such as a store or a place like Best Buy or Fry's Electronics, for example. Now, this chapter's purpose is to give us an overview of the inside and outside components of a computer, to describe how computers communicate both internally and externally, and to introduce you to the common tools used by a PC technician. Now, why is this important? Well, we need to have an overview of this because as a technician, we need to understand the basic parts of a computer, we need to understand the tools we're going to use, and we need to understand some of the terminology associated with these different parts. So this chapter is to give us a big picture overview of Chapter 1. What are the objectives of this chapter? First, we want to explain the role of computers in society, explain what a computer is, describe what we mean by computer data, and how a computer does its job by processing that data. We want to identify the major computer components of a typical PC or personal computer. We want to describe the power-on sequence of a typical personal computer and want to understand why that's important, because many times problems show up when we turn on a computer. We want to explain how the major components interact with each other and how they communicate with each other. We want to interpret the common numbers associated with computers and the prefixes associated with the computer's memory size and speed and other numbers. We want to define what we mean by static discharge or static electricity that can cause problems with computers, especially when we work on them, and how to avoid that. And we want to identify the common tools used to service a personal computer. I've divided this presentation up into 6 parts. The first part is called What is a Computer? The second is an outside tour of the computer. 3 is an inside tour of the computer's parts. 4 is how computers communicate both inside and outside. And number 5, the PC Technician's Toolkit. And finally 6, integrated circuits, or the chips inside of a computer. What is a computer? Well, a computer's job is to process data. So we need to define what we mean by data. Well, data is any kind of information that can be converted to numbers that can be processed by a computer. For example, text. Text would include the alphabet and letters and numbers and punctuation. The type of information that would come from a word processor, or maybe from a web page. Or data could be a picture, an image, or video. Or it could be sound, such as music or speech. Anything, in fact it could be a lot of different things, anything that can be converted to numbers could be processed by a computer. And numbers ultimately mean zeros and ones, or ons and offs. What are the functions of a computer? Well, for something to be a computer, it has to do 4 things. It has to be able to store data. It has to be able to retrieve or receive data. It has to be able to process data. And it has to be able to output data. First of all, storing data. Storing data means that we put the data into something and then which we can then get it back from. For example, a magnetic storage device, such as a hard drive, is a storage device, or a floppy drive, for example. Floppy drives are obsolete, but it is an example of a magnetic storage device because we can both write data to these devices and retrieve it. Or optical storage, such as a CD-ROM or DVD-ROM. Or electronic storage, such as flash memory, such as these US flash memories, or these flash memory cards, such as compact or SD flash cards. Those are all devices which we can store data in and retrieve it back again. We need to be able to process data. Processing data means we need to be able to sort the data, compare the data, compute, or locate, for example, or many other possibilities. By sorting, we mean putting it in order. Comparing, meaning that we compare numbers or text information to see if it matches or doesn't match, or whether it's greater or less than. Computing would include adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and other arithmetic and math functions. And locating, meaning we could search through data or files to find information. And then finally, when we say retrieve, or when we say receiving data, we could mean getting the data back from a storage device such as a hard drive or flash drive, or we could mean getting the data from some input device such as a keyboard and mouse or a camera. And then outputting data means we have to have some way to display, and that would be an output device such as a monitor, a printer, or a speaker, just to name a few. So as long as a device can do all of these different things, store data, retrieve data, process data, and output data, then we would consider it to be a computer. Now these are all examples of things that we would normally think of a computer: a desktop computer, notebook computer, handheld, tablet computer, or a big mainframe computer, are all examples of devices that we think of as computers. But actually there's a lot of other things that are computers that we might not think of computers. Based on what you know about the function of computers, would you consider the following electronic devices to be a computer? How about an MP3 player? Is that a computer? Well, it definitely inputs information. You can put music into an MP3 player. It does output information when it plays it back, and it probably has a display on it of some kind. And how about processing? Well, yes, it does, because it has to convert data like MP3 files into sound. So that takes a computing process to do that. So yes, an MP3 player is a computer. How about a game system? Is a game system a computer? Well, a game system definitely has input and output, and it definitely displays information. So it's both input and output. It processes because it has to react to the player. How about storage? Yes, most game systems store information because they have to be able to store settings and scores and things like that and the state of the game. So a game system is a computer. How about a flash drive? Well, definitely flash drives can store information and they can be able to retrieve information, but a flash drive does not process information. So a flash drive is not considered to be a computer, although it's certainly used by a computer. So there are many things besides what we normally think of computers that are actually computers. For example, your cell phone, appliances. There's computers in your car. There's computers in toys. You would be surprised in places that you'll find computers. In fact, computers can be found almost everywhere, in business, in government, in your home, in education, the military. There are computers found just about everywhere. Now let me ask you a few questions. Can you list the 4 basic functions of a computer? A computer needs to be able to receive or retrieve data in some way. In other words, a computer might not necessarily have a storage device associated with it, but at least it needs to be able to receive the data in some way. So it's got to have some kind of input on it. And it's got to be able to hold that data or store that data in some way. It has to be able to process that data, and it has to be able to output that data. So if you can do all 4 of those things, then it is a computer. Can you list 3 forms of computer data? The most common examples might be text, such as letters and numbers, sound, such as music and speech, or graphics, such as pictures and videos. But there are many other possibilities for computer data. A computer can be connected up to some kind of instrument, such as a measuring device, like a meter that measures electrical signals, or a medical instrument that measures heart rate or brain waves, or it could be connected up to weather instruments like a thermometer or rain gauge or something, or all test instruments for automotive repair. All of those things can provide computer data. Can you list at least 3 devices from which computers can retrieve or receive data? Well, some obvious examples are the keyboard and mouse, or less obvious things like digital pens, or memory, or hard drives. Hard drives, all of those, any storage device is also an input device. Can you list at least 3 devices to which computers can store data? Storage devices might include things like hard drives, flash drives, CD-ROM drives, and DVD drives. And there are others as well. Can you list at least 3 devices to which computers can output data? Obvious examples include the printer, the monitor or display, and the speakers. But what are some other things you might output data to? Well, you might have a device that talks. That would be connected to the speaker, for example, a speech. That would be, or you could have a modem that communicates to a telephone. Those are output as well as input devices. And computers can control all kinds of things that can display information. So there's many possibilities for output. List at least 4 ways in which data is processed. What are some of the things that computers can do with the data once they receive it or retrieve it? Well, we talked about sorting, putting things in order, comparing things, computing, doing adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and other computations, and locating or searching for information. Those are all some ways that data can be processed by a computer. Next, I'd like to talk about the outside of a computer, but let's take a break now.